Hey guys, hi everyone. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I hope I am audible as well as visible. Am I? Good morning, Adil. Good morning. Good morning. Hello. Perfect. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, guys. Good morning, Smita. Good morning, Vishwajit. Prince. Hi. Hello, Basu. Hello, Smita. Hello, guys. Hi, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Dibyandu. Good morning. Good morning, Ankit. So I guess we will wait 1 or 2 minutes for rest of the people to join. I can see only in few faces here, few names here. Walaikum salam, Sadi. Walaikum salam. So let me try to set up the environment in the meantime, and then we can start our class. Good morning, Jalak. Good morning, Pradnya. Good morning. I hope my screen is already visible. Is it? It should be already visible, right? Perfect. Great. Thank you so much for the confirmation. People are joining, so we will wait 1 or 2 minutes for rest of the people to join, and then accordingly we are going to start our class. In the meantime, let's quickly try to revise what we have discussed in our previous class. That is related to DOM. We have already started one of the wonderful sessions, one of the wonderful discussions that has been around DOM, and we have understood lot of things in DOM. We have made ourselves comfortable around DOM, and let's see what we can do. Okay, but I can still see only 17, 15 people here, so that's not a good number. So let's wait for rest of the people to join, and then we will start our class properly. In the meantime, if you have any questions, if you have any doubts, feel free to ask. Put that in the chat. Let me put a message in the WhatsApp group, and then we can start our class. Okay, perfect. Good morning, Anil. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Of course, after this JavaScript, we'll be starting React. It's complete Mern Shivani. So we won't be starting Angular because that's not the part of the plan. But as of now, we are currently discussing JavaScript. As soon as we complete this JavaScript and everything related to it, then we will start React. Once we complete our React, then we will start our Node.js, then Express, then MongoDB, and then complete Mern applications. We are going to create 2, 3 projects that will be complete Mern projects in this entire course as well. So this is not just a JavaScript or HTML CSS course, but this batch is going to be completely related to Mern, meaning MongoDB, Express, React, and Node. So definitely everything will be discussed. Hi, Arka. Good morning. Good morning, Sukhjot. Good morning. Angular. I'm not sure that much about Angular because honestly speaking, I don't have that much idea about Angular. But I'm a React expert, so I will definitely say React is very easy, and definitely we are going to learn React in it. Okay. How much JavaScript is enough? JavaScript, like everything is related to JavaScript. So as much as you can, definitely you should learn and explore almost everything in JavaScript, Sumit. Okay. So JavaScript is everything. So you make sure that you understand JavaScript properly. That's why I'm giving that much importance to JavaScript. Otherwise, we would have completed our JavaScript. Okay. But what we actually can do is we can actually understand this JavaScript in deep detail first of all, and then we will go to rest of the things, and they will be very much easy to understand only once we understand and get a complete idea of what JavaScript actually is. We have not understood, we don't know what virtual DOM at this point of time is because we are not in React Prince, but we are going to quickly revise what DOM is. So let's not waste our time. I can see people are joining, although only 25, 22 people are here, 23 people are here. But let's start. Let's not waste our time. Shall we start, guys? I want every one of you to tell me in the chat, yes, let's start, sir. Shall we start? Everyone, perfect, great. I can see few yeses, not all of the yeses. So please type yes in the chat so that I can understand how many students have joined and which students are active. Perfect. Let's start. In our yesterday's class was one of the very important classes. We understood that we have studied a lot of JavaScript, and yesterday was our first class when we implemented some of the JavaScript on our web application. Yesterday we understood that whenever we create any web application, as soon as we open it in our browser, a window object gets created around it, and among that we have one of the properties over there of window object called as document. Now that document simply represents your web page actually, which means it actually wraps and creates and understands this particular web application as a JavaScript object, and it models it as a document. And that's what we mean by document object model. And we understood now, since our document object model is how JavaScript will be able to interact with our web application. So it means it will have different methods with help of which what we can do, so we can find different nodes in our web application and then access them and bring manipulations or changes whatever we want. As of now, we have made our discussion very simple. We have seen few of the methods already, whether we talk about document.get element by id, whether we talk about document.get element by class name, whether we talk about document.get element by tag name, or query select and query selector all. So these are the few very important discussions that we have done in our previous class, in our yesterday's class. In our today's class, it's also going to be related to DOM. I would say maybe one another week will be related to DOM, because I won't just give you a small idea about what DOM is. Honestly, trust me, whatever I have taught you, that is enough to understand DOM and implement our web application. But there are a lot of other things which you will never learn. So that's why I'm going to go a little bit deep into DOM and make you understand what actually DOM is about. So make sure, do not leave the class in between. Stay here up till end. Although I'm very much not satisfied with the number, but I think still, if 30 are here, let's make sure all these 30 students remain until end. So let me create a new file here with the name of DOM4. And what I will do is I will simply go and try to create a boilerplate in it. The first discussion, the first topic of today's class is actually understanding DOM traversal methods. DOM traversal methods. What do we mean by DOM traversal methods? They simply allow you to navigate through the DOM tree and access different elements in relationship to other elements. Listen to my definition properly. When we talk about these methods that I'm going to show you few of them, 3 to 4 methods, they simply allow you to navigate through the DOM tree. But you would say, no, sir, we already know methods that allow us to navigate through DOM tree. That is get element by id, get element by class name, or the methods which we saw in yesterday's class. But the methods that I'm going to teach you, they are not just about accessing or navigating through the DOM tree, but also understanding different elements, how they are related with other elements. I hope that makes sense. So let me simply go here and let me simply create a div, and let me simply give it an ID, let's say container, something like this. Done. And in this div, I will simply go create a P whose, let's suppose, ID is going to be anything, let's suppose child. Okay. And it holds a text. I will simply say this is a child element. And now there might be some other elements as well. So I will simply go create here first. This is a first element. This is my second element. This is my third element. And this is my fourth element. Make sure that you always take notes on the same time as well, because that's what is going to make you understand what actually these methods are, and you are going to remember them later on as well. What I will do is I will simply go and implement a script tag. And the first thing is, I am going to read an element whose ID is child. Now, if I simply go create an element, so let me simply create CELE. So C stands for child, is child element, is equals to, and I will simply go tell it on my document, please get an element by ID over there, and that ID is child. And we know from our yesterday's discussion that whenever we try to implement get element by ID, it will always return the first element that matches the query. So ID child, this is the element it's going to return. Even we can check that as well. So let me simply go and try to console.log my CELE child element over there. And what I will do is I will simply go and open the live server here. So let me open the live server quickly. As soon as I do that, if I go inside the console, we can clearly see the first element over here in the output. Wonderful. After that, let me try to divide my screen into two parts. Okay, pay close attention here. Now I want to find a related element. When I say find a related element, what do I mean by that? We found our element, first element. Now I simply want to find its parent node. Understand the question first of all here. When we say relation, the first relation I can say is, tell me whose parent, or whose child it is. Find me its parent node. And in that, if you simply want to find its parent node, let me simply create a variable with PELEMP, parent element is equals to, and I will simply tell it, the child element that you have, please go over and find me its parent node. Now, when we say parent node, it automatically means now I am trying to find a relationship of this element with respect to other element. And if I try to console this, we can clearly visualize it. As soon as I go into inspector, you can clearly see in the console over there, we got the whole div, whole container over there inside P element. So it means that the first traversal method that we are discussing over there is our parent node. And when we say parent node, can we all agree that it is in a relationship with this? Yes, it is. And with the help of this, we can find its parent node. I hope that makes sense. In a similar way, let me try to do one thing. Let's try to create some other thing, or let's do one thing. Let's create another thing. I will go and create an ordered list with an ID of list. Okay, this is why it is most used. That's why I'm creating unordered list. Otherwise, we can implement the new method that I'm going to teach you on our ID container div as well. And inside this, I will simply go create a list item that will simply say item one. And control C, control V over here. And I will simply go say 2 and 3. Now, what I want you to implement is I simply want you to find the child nodes now. We found our parent node from an element. Tell me what its parent node. We can use simply parent node on that element. Done. But if you already have a parent and you want to simply access its all nodes, how can we implement that? How can we find that? Let's try to understand that as well. So I will simply go in this case. Let me try to copy this code. Okay. And let me simply go here, paste this code. And in this case, I will simply say let list is equals to, and I will simply go and put an ID list. We all can agree that inside this variable, we have this whole container. Do we all agree? Of course, yes, sir. We agree with that. After that, I will simply, my intention is to actually get the HTML collection of all the child elements of a specified element. So whatever specified element I have, whatever element I have access of, I simply want its all children's, and I want to simply get them. And in order to do that, I will simply use a method called as children. And now if I try to console.log, if I try to console.log over there, as soon as I try to find my list item, you can clearly see in the output over there, now we have a HTML collection. And don't we remember what HTML collection in our previous class is? We have discussed the difference between HTML collection and node list. To some extent, I will definitely teach you other differences as well. So we get simply an HTML collection over there, an array of list items, because that's what the children's wire here. I can also go over there and I can also find p element dot children. Let me do p element dot children. When I say p element dot children, what does it mean? P element dot children. It means go to the document that I have, find an element whose ID is child. So it's going to find this element. Then find its parent node. So P element becomes this container, and then tell me what are its children. So it is also going to return an HTML collection over there with 3 of the P tags having the ID child, 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 and that's what it has returned. So my conclusion over here is we are understanding different methods now, and those methods are allowing us to find the relationship between this node with its parent or parent with its children. So we can do that as well. There is one another method that you might come across. Okay, one another method. What is that method called? There's a method that you might come across while creating web application. It's called next element sibling. What is it called? It's called a next element sibling. Whenever on a particular node you implement the method called as next element sibling, this method is going to return the next sibling element. What does that mean? Let's try to understand it. So I simply have, let me give it an id over there as first. I will simply go there, give it an id as second, and I will simply go give it an id as third. Okay, apart from child, let me give it child id as well, so that my JavaScript won't throw an error. Done. Now it says parent node is reading null, so child is their id, so we can give only one ids in that case, right? If that's what it says. Perfect. Okay, let's understand one thing here. I am going to simply read an element whose ID is second. So let me try to do this. So I will simply go create a variable called as second. In this case, I'm going to give it an ID called as second. Can we all agree the node it actually found is this particular p tag? Of course, yes, we can all agree to that. So now I simply want to, maybe my requirement in our web application is that I already have an access of node. Now I simply want to write my logic so that whenever it holds the next sibling to it, do this. Whenever there's a next sibling to this, do this. So it means I have to find a method, I have to see a method with help of which I can find its next element sibling, which means which is its adjacent immediately after that. So in that particular case, I can simply go and create a variable. Let me simply go, let my next is equals to what? On my second element, please implement a method called as next element sibling. Now, when we say next element sibling, let me try to console this and see what it does. So console.log next, and we can clearly see we are able to see our p tag, that is the third element. So can we all agree that this is the next sibling to this p tag? Also, can we all agree that this is the next to this p tag? Of course, yes. So this is third method which we have understood in today's class called as next sibling. In a similar way, I can also have a method, if I remember correctly, I might be wrong here, which is called on my second, please find the previous element sibling. The element, the website is called, sorry, the method is called previous element sibling. What it does is it returns the previous sibling element of the specified element. And what is the specified element? Specified element is whose id is second. So now in this case, let me simply go and console.log my previous. Done. And if I go check in the output, we can clearly see it actually gives me the previous element of second. And do we all agree that this is the previous element of second and this is the next sibling element of second? Of course, yes, we can understand that as well. So this is the fourth method with help of which we can actually find the relationship between this element with respect to the other elements. And that's what we have actually understood from our combinators maybe as well. What were combinators? The relationship between multiple elements, parent, child, sibling, general sibling, adjacent sibling. In a similar way, even DOM actually allows us methods with help of which what we can do is we can find the relationship between this element and some other elements around it, or parent or child whatsoever. So we have these methods. This one last method, or two methods that I can remember right now, and those two methods are first element child, last element child. What do I mean by that? Whenever your agenda is, whenever you want that I have a parent node, I have an element, and I simply want to target its first child, first element, or I want to target its last element so that I can implement some logic on it. In that particular case, we have more two traversal methods. So let me simply go, and I have a parent element over it. Parent element is container. I have the parent element. Let me try to do one thing. I will simply go and I will simply try to find its first element child and last element child. So let me simply go say console.log p element. Now, when I say p element, I know it will give me container dot p element dot what? Dot my first element child. Now, when we say first element child, do we all agree over here that this is the first child element to it? Yes or no? Do we all agree that when I talk about this container, the first element child is actually this is the first element? Of course, yes. In a similar way, there's one another method called as the last element child that is going to return the last element of it, and you can clearly see that is this. This is the third element. Now, you might be wondering, there's one question that might be in your mind, okay? Sir, why are we learning these methods? Why are we learning these methods? Right? And I'm pretty much sure, even if you have done DOM before this as well, the maximum methods you knew were document.get element by ID, class name, tag name, and name, or query selector and query selector all. That is it. But it's not necessary that you have to find an element with all those what are they called, selectors only. But there are a lot of traverser methods with the help of which you can find an element and then implement a logic. And of course, we will create a project. We will not wait completion of JavaScript. No, as soon as we complete our DOM, we will create a very small project around our DOM, which means in our next week itself, maybe a calculator application, a good one, or maybe some other application, but that will simply contain good amount of DOM manipulations. So all these methods, or most of these methods, I will implement in a project, and I will actually let you know what actually that does. I will actually let you know what these methods are used for and why they are going to be used for. So we have seen 6 methods here. Note them down. Number one was parent node. Parent node is a method that will get you a parent node of a selected element. Very good. Second method noted down is children. With help of children, you will get all direct child elements. Direct child elements. My question over here. When I say direct child elements, what if I have a main tag and inside that main tag I have simply p tag? Will I get these p tags in children? This is what I mean. List.children. Or let me say, instead of listed children, I will simply p element dot children. Will I get something like this inside this list item? Let's try to find out that. So this HTML collection, actually, if you look at this, it gives me first of all this p element, which is child, p hash child, then p hash second, then main element, and main itself is an object. Then main over there itself is an object. So you can clearly understand that when we talk about this HTML collection, it holds only 1, 2, 3, 4 elements, not more than that. That is why I said the definition is not the all children's, nested children's, no, but the direct children's. So when we talk about children method over there, this is going to return me the direct all childs inside an HTML collection. After that, we discuss next element sibling. It simply gives me the next element sibling of the specified element. Previous element sibling, it simply returns the previous sibling element. First element child, first child of a specified element. Last element child, it gives me last element of a specified parent. So these are few of the traverser methods, and I'm completely sure there are going to be a lot of other methods as well. Moving forward, now we have understood, I would say, very much, very many methods with help of which we can find a node. Do we all agree with that? Of course, yes. In order to find a particular node from my document, I think we should all agree that we have discussed lot of methods. But now there needs to be a very important discussion that we need to have. And that discussion is actually about attributes. Have we discussed any JavaScript or any DOM that actually connects our discussion with help of with respect to attributes? Of course not. Of course not. Right? So what do we have? We have to understand one another discussion over there on this DOM. So let me create DOM5.html. In this case, I will simply go create a boilerplate, and let me try to open my DOM5 in the output as well, like this. Done. Now pay close attention, because there are few methods in our attributes. Whenever we deal with attributes, these methods play a very important role. And I'm pretty much sure if you already have done DOM before, you might already know this. Please make sure to remember, sorry, to like this video right now. We have already discussed that element by name, right? Tag name, by name, we have already discussed both of them. Name is with respect to the attribute, name attribute, right? But that is something related to our input fields only. We have already seen that. And I'm not talking about right now finding an element with respect to attribute. No. Whenever we talk about our HTML elements, we know one thing for sure, which is that HTML attributes play a very significant role inside our web development. Whether we talk about style attribute, class attribute, ID attribute, or any other attribute that we can think of, they play a very important role. And manipulating HTML attributes dynamically using JavaScript is very much essential for creating our interactive web design applications. Like we can talk about src attribute, href attribute, class attribute, id attribute, so many attributes that are actually there in the output, and we would want them to change dynamically, right? So in order to do that, in order to deal with that, we have HTML attributes. Which methods are we talking about? To repeat, these methods that we actually saw here. So let me share a little bit note related to these methods after the class. You can find the note related to these methods in our WhatsApp group after the class. Okay. So over there I will repeat, but I think understanding these concepts are clear, right? Parent node on an element will give its parent node. That's the first element, first method. First element child will return the first element of the parent element. We understood that. Last element will return the last element of the parent element. We understood that. Children inside parent elements are going to return all the children's, but as an HTML collection, we understood that. In a similar way, next element sibling will return next element, and previous element sibling will return previous element. I think that's already understood, but I will definitely share you some definitions, small definitions of all these methods in the WhatsApp group later on. Let's pay close attention here. So we are currently discussing our attributes. Now, first method that we have to understand here is that, let's suppose there's already some element, maybe image, and inside this image, what I have to do, I simply have an image. Okay. Even let's try to download an image. So I will simply go download cat image. Okay. So cat image. Let me try to download one. So save image as. So after this, I need to go to my, come on. I need to go to my desktop. Inside that, there's August batch. Why is it August batch? Then JavaScript, then DOM. And over here, I will create, download this image, right? And over here, of course, now let me put an src, proper src to it. So dot slash my download.jpg. Okay. And of course, I have one other attribute over there called as alt. So I will simply put a text in front of it, which is cat text. Done. Now we know one thing for sure. We have created our SRCs. We have created our ALT. By that I mean we have created our attributes. The first and the most simplest thing related to an attribute would be, how do we read an attribute? How do we get an attribute? And we have not seen any method, but we will do now. So let me first of all, in order to get an attribute out of an element, the first and the most important thing is we will actually find the element as whole. So I will simply go and tell it, please find an ele is equals to, on my document, please find an element by an id, and that id, let me simply go and create image. So let me give it an ID over there, which is ID is equals to what? ID is equals to img. So we all agree that inside this variable ele, we have this ID image. Now I want to read an attribute. And in order to read an attribute over there, there's a method that we call as get attribute. So I will simply go define a variable, let src or src att is equals to what? On my ele, please get an attribute. Okay. Now, you guys tell me one thing. When I say get attribute, can I write document.get attribute? Can I do that? Please give me a yes or no in the chat. Can I write document.get attribute? Of course not. We cannot write something like that. Because when we say attribute, it automatically makes sense if we implement it on an element. So always make sure that whenever you use this method, it has to be implemented on an element first. So you have to find the element first, from where you have to extract your attribute actually. And over here, it receives an argument. The argument name is what is the attribute you are trying to read. So I will simply go, let's suppose I want to read src. And then I will simply go and tell it simply console.log, and then please make src and give me console.log src, and we can clearly find that. So this is one of the very simplest method with help of which we can retrieve any attribute from our specified element by passing an argument over there. The argument will be your attribute name. Very good, Nasir. Exactly. So that's what get attribute means. That's one thing. So we have done read operation of an attribute. What about set? How do we actually set an attribute of an element? Or when we say set an attribute, I simply mean two things here. If the attribute is there, then change its value. Second thing is, if the attribute is not there, create it. So that's what set means. Set has two meanings. One is images, in this case already there. ALT is already there. Like if these two attributes are there, in that case, please change them. That's one thing by creation of, by updating an attribute. Second thing that we have over here is if there's no attribute created, and in order to do that, similar to get attribute, we have a method called as similar to get attribute, we have a method called as set attribute. So I will simply go here and I will simply tell ele, please set an attribute to particular something like this. Although I'm not sure what this image is, it gave me a what is this called as suggestion, but I think it makes sense. So we can clearly see that set attribute simply is that please set an attribute on an element. What is that attribute? It is src attribute, and this is the image that I want you to set. Now we can clearly understand our attribute was something like this, our own image, but now it has taken an image from the internet and it has actually set our attribute like that. This is one thing, updation of an attribute. But on the other hand, what about creation of an attribute? So can we do something like this? ele dot please set an attribute. And what is the attribute that you're going to set? A class. And what is the value that you're going to set to it? Class. Let's suppose class is main. Do you think it has actually added a class to this? Yes or no? Do you think it has added a class to this? Can we create new attributes with help of our class? With help of our set attribute, sorry. Can we do that? The answer is, of course, yes. And how do we find that? I can simply say ele, please do one thing, console.log ele dot get attribute, and please get an attribute that is class. And if it consoles that particular thing inside the console over it means it has set the class. Although we can implement a proper CSS on it as well to confirm, but we can also implement get attribute as well to see whether the class has been implemented or not. We can either use get attribute or directly go to my elements, find this image over there and see if there is any attribute class that has been added. So anyway, you have to find anything, but we can clearly understand, yes, we have found two ways. We have discussed two methods here, set attribute, get attribute. With help of set attribute, we are able to set any attribute or update any attribute that we have. And we can only think of two operations related to attributes. Do we all agree with that? Either get or set. But there's also one another method that I can remember right now, and that is like one of the very important methods and are very much used in dynamic web applications, which is a method that will check if an element has a specified attribute or not. Sometimes our requirement might be if the element's attribute is it has a class attribute, do this. It is the value. Second attribute is the value. Like what do you want? For example, if you see, I simply want, hey, please set the attribute src on an element with this value. So similarly, set the attribute of class with this value. So this is attribute name. This is the what is the value of that. You can understand this here. It is attribute name. It is the value of that. That's what it is. Attribute name, value of that. I hope that makes sense, right? Please make sure you like this video right now, okay? Allow me a second. Done. I hope it makes sense. Perfect. Moving forward. I was talking about a method that is one of the very important methods in our dynamic web development. And with help of this, I have implemented too many dynamicalities in a web application. Too many. Sometimes our requirement might be like this. Hey, if this element has this attribute, do this. If this element has that attribute, do this. Which means we need to find a method that is going to be Boolean in nature. By Boolean, I mean either return yes or false, either return true or false. But with help of this method, we should be able to find whether this element has this attribute or not. Let's try to find that. I will simply use a method called as has attribute. So I will simply tell it ele dot has attribute. Now, when we say has attribute, I have to pass an argument, the name of the attribute that we are trying to find. Let's suppose I'm simply telling it alt. And in this case, let me simply try to console.log this method. You guys tell me quickly, when I say console.log this particular method, what is it going to print in the output? Of course, true, because there is alt. So alt is there, so of course it will return true. So it means yes, we have a method inside our DOM, with help of which we can simply check if this image, if this element has a alt attribute, then return true. If it does not, return false. That's what makes this particular method a very important method. So I will simply pass alt. What if I will write a attribute name and that attribute does not exist there? In that particular case, you can clearly see it returns false. That's what this method is. So we have seen three things: get attribute, read the attribute, set attribute, change the attribute or create a new, and also check whether it has or not, boolean. But there's also one another method, with help of which if there is already an attribute, remove it. It makes sense, complete sense. Yes, we should have such method, with help of which we should be able to remove an attribute from a specified element. For example, for this particular element, I simply want to remove alt attribute. So how do we do that? Or what I want is I simply want to do one thing, which is I want to create a button, and that button will simply say hide. Okay. And on this button, I will simply say on click. Whenever I click on this, please call a JavaScript function whose name is fun. After that, I will simply go create a function with the name of fun, like this, like this, like this. Done. And over here, I will simply tell it, please do one thing. Whenever I will click on this, please say ele dot remove attribute. Okay. And when we say remove attribute, please remove an attribute called as src. Now, if you look at the output that I have, when I click on this, I know it's going to call this function whose name is fun. And immediately on the element that I have read over here on line number 12, it's going to remove an attribute. That what's the name of the attribute? Called as src. And when I click on this, we can clearly see now there's no image. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So there is a method with help of which what you can do is you can actually remove an attribute from an element as well. I hope this makes complete sense. I hope we are completely clear with these four methods. So we have seen four methods here. Number one is get attribute. Please note it down on your rough copy. Get attribute. With help of get attribute, we will be able to read an attribute from a particular element or from a specified element. Second method is set attribute. With help of set attribute, we can set the value of an attribute or create it if it does not exist. Third method is has attribute. It is going to return a boolean which will check if an element has a specified attribute or not. And fourth method is called a remove. Remove attribute. It will simply remove the attribute that you mention as an argument from an element that we have. So we hope we have understood completely what these four methods actually does. Okay, am I clear? I need a quick confirmation from all of the students so that I can move forward and I can discuss some other set of methods over here, some other very important set of methods. Quickly. Am I clear? Am I clear? Quickly, guys. Done? Perfectly fine. Very good. Let's move a little bit forward. Now, see, we have understood something related to attributes. We know what attributes are. We know how to set an attribute, how to remove an attribute, how to add an attribute, or whatever we want to do, we can do this. Okay. But I want to put my focus on a very specific attribute now. One of the most important attributes inside our HTML is a class attribute. Do we all agree with that? Why? Because when we talk about our class attribute deals with the style very much. You will see in your style.css file, there will be too much of code written and created CSS code that will be related to classes, which means classes have a little bit more priority in our DOM as well. Because with help of class, we can bring dynamic, CSS changes in our output as well. So I will simply go here, create a file called as dom6.html. Now this set of methods that I'm going to discuss, this is something very important. Something very important. It allows you to create dynamic web application, and you use this method very often. I don't think you will use the methods DOM traversal methods that much, how much you are going to use the method that I'm going to talk about now. So please make sure you take proper notes out of it. So let me create a boilerplate first of all, and I will simply give it class DOM. Let me give it a title class DOM. Done. Over here, I'm going to discuss first of all some of the very basic method, which is called class list. As we all know that when we talk about our web application, classes play a very important role. And when we talk about DOM is all about manipulations. DOM is always about how to bring dynamicalities. So manipulating CSS classes dynamically through our JavaScript allows you to change the appearance and behavior of an element on a web page however you want based on your requirement. And the class list property provides you several useful methods for adding a class, for removing a class, for toggling a class. That too without overriding the elements existing classes that we have. Now let's try to understand it one by one. I will simply go. Let's suppose I will simply go create a div. Okay. And let me even try to design this div as well. Let me give it some class this time. And class will be main. And let me go here and let me try to implement some style. Please pay close attention here. I will simply go tell it implement main. Then over here, I will simply go and give it, let's suppose width is equals to 300 pixel, not more than this. And I'm going to give it a height over there as 300 pixel. And then I'm simply going to go over here and create a background color, which is going to be by default aqua, and we can visualize our container in the output. We should be able to do that, right? And we can do that. Now, I have class over there, which is main for this div. I won't do anything else, but I will simply try to read it. And let me give it an ID. Okay. So ID is going to be what? ID is going to be div or anything else, whatever you want. I have a simple question before I move forward. I told you in our yesterday's class that we can write script anywhere. Like script tag, the script tag that I have to write here, I can write it in body. I can also write it in head as well if I want. Of course, I can do that. There's no one is going to stop you in order to do that, right? I can write my script in head. I can write my script in body. I can write my script in between wherever I want. Completely, it's completely allowed. But you guys will tell me in 2 seconds what the difference between writing our script over here or over here is. You guys will tell me, not me. So I will simply go read an element is equals to. I will tell it on my document, please get an element by ID. And that ID is actually div. And if I try to console.log my ELE, if I go inside my inspect here, and if I go inside my console, we can clearly read our div because that's what the element is, and we are consoling the same element here. But let me try to control exit, and let me try to paste it here. Now the same logic that I wrote in the body script, with help of which we were able to read this div perfectly, but I'm not able to read this div now. Why? Because it returns null. So do we agree why we were always writing our script below this div? Why can't we write our script here? Do we all know the reason now? Although I've not told you, I think it should be automatically be able to understand what actually you mean, what actually I actually mean here. Yes or no? When I am trying to read an element here, at this point of time, when this is executed, it does not know there is a div whose ID is div, which means that is why we cannot write such logic, this type of logic over here. We cannot write this type of logic. If there's a logic that actually depends on the code which is written later on after this, then it has to be like this only. We cannot write script here because at this point of time it does not know there exists a div. So please make sure you understand that. Okay, please make sure. Now, what am I trying to discuss here? Something very important, which is called class list. Now let me go here and let me try to create a variable, and I will simply say let my class list is equals to ele dot class list, like this. Okay. And let me try to simply print this class list and let's see what it's going to print, because we at this point of time don't know what class list actually method is, but let's try to print it. As soon as I do that, you can clearly see it is giving me a token list. It is giving me a token list over there. What is this token list? This token list is simply the values of the classes that I have created. At this point of time, you can clearly see there's only one class, and that's what we can see, main over there. And you can clearly see there's only one element inside it at the zeroth index, which is main. But what about I will create more classes on it? Let's suppose I will simply go create a para. In that case, the same list, the same array that I have, it is now divided into two parts. Sorry, it contains two elements. One is main, one is para. So, which means now there is a specific method that deals with a specific attribute inside our HTML, inside our DOM, that is related to classes. And that's what we mean by class list. We don't have ID list, we have class list, because class lists play a very important role. Now, what do I actually want to do? I simply want to go and I simply want to create a button. And that button will simply say red. Okay. Console.log v. And I have four more buttons. Okay. Let me not create a lot of buttons. Let me create three more buttons. This says blue. This says green. I hope you have understood what I'm trying to do. When I click on red, the background color of this particular div should be made red. When I click on blue, the background color of this element should be made blue. Similarly for green as well. This is what I actually want. Simple as that. Now, how do we do that? I have a way I can simply tell it, hey, on click, please call a function. And that function actually is on click. Please call a function. That name of the function is fun. I can simply go here. Instead of class list, I can even without class list to do this as well. I don't need class list property to implement such requirement in the output. I don't need that. So I will simply go define my function like this, fun, like this, like this, like this. And in this case, I will simply tell it, please set the element data, please go it style and change its background color, right? And make the background color over there is equals to red. I can, of course, do this. So when I click on this, it will make it red. So remember one very important point. It's not about the background here. It's not about that. The discussion that I'm trying to do is it's something different. The same problem that I actually asked you to do, it can be implemented, it can be done in hundreds of ways in DOM. And I don't want to talk about that. But the point that I'm trying to make you understand is that I simply want to make it red, not because of the style property, but because of the class property. So I would simply want here that I will add a red class to it, where the background color will be red. In a similar way, I will create a blue class here, where the background color will be blue. In a similar way, I will simply create a green background color, class, where the background color will be green. Okay. Now, what will happen and what is it that I actually want, so that when I click on this red button, it will make the red background. How can I do that according to the logic that I have written? When I click on blue, it should make the blue background color according to the logic that I have written. When I click on green, it should make it green according to the logic we have written. What is the logic? What am I trying to create over there? Simple thing. As soon as I click on red, go there and add this red attribute, red class to this particular div. As soon as I click on blue, add the blue class to this particular div. As soon as we click on green, add the green class to this particular div. If I am able to do that, do we all agree we will be able to change the background color however we want? Do we all agree? Of course, yes. Because classes are styled properly, we should be able to do that. And that's where my first method comes into picture, which is that whenever we talk about adding a class to this particular element, we already know this class list variable that I have, it holds an array of the classes for this ELE. Yes or no? It holds the class, it holds the classes for my element. So instead of creating it like this, what am I going to do? I am simply going to tell it one thing, which is whenever function is called at that point of time, please do one thing, add some classes. So on my ELE, please go and read a property of class list and then please add. What are you going to add? Tell it whatever, how many classes you want. It's not like we can actually add only one class. We will see that as well, Nasir. At this point of time, let's talk about only one particular class, one particular method, which is how do we add classes to an element. So we use a method which is on our class list. We use a method called as add. And over here, we can simply write our class name. And that class name actually in this case is red. Yes or no? So let me simply go here, click on this. We can clearly see it has implemented the logic over there. It has actually made my background color red. Done. Perfectly fine. Very good. Done. Perfect. In a similar way, I will go here. I will simply go right on click. And on this on click, I will simply call my fun1 like this. And let me define the same function again, but let me change the name over here with fun1, and I will simply go make it blue. And now when I click on red, it is making it red. When I click on blue, it's making it blue. Very good. In a similar way, I will simply go there and on click. I will tell it fun to call this fun2 function. And let me define the same function here with fun2, and I will simply put green over here. Now see and try to understand what's happening over here. Let me open my HTML here. So we have, at least at this point of time, understood one of the topics, one of the methods of class list called is dot add. With help of dot add, what we can do is we can add any class to our already class array. Okay. Now see, in the elements, I will try to open this div. At this point of time, I know by default I have implemented two classes, which is main and para. So now let me click on red. As soon as I click on red, you can clearly see red class got added. As soon as I click on blue, you can clearly see blue class got added. And as soon as I click on green, you can clearly see green class got added. So we found a way that if there is any element, we can dynamically add a class to that particular element as well. And how many we want, it's completely up to us. If I click on blue, now there's an issue. Now, when I refresh my page, when I click on red first, it makes it red. When I click on blue, it makes it blue. When I click on green, it makes it green. But there's still an issue. Because now when I go and click on red, it does not make its background color red. When I click on this, it does not make its background color blue. When I click on this, it does not make its background colors green. Can you tell me why? Because Nasir has already given the answer to this. The reason behind that is when I first time click on red, at that point of time, it did not had red class. So red class was added and red style is implemented properly. Similarly for blue, similarly for green. And you can also check in the output as well. I have implemented my style from top to bottom. Red, blue, green. So it does not matter what actually I click, it will always implement the last class here, which is green. It will always make the green over here. Done. But what is the solution to this? The solution is I will simply tell it whenever I click on blue, remove the previous, remove the red, or remove the green, or remove something else. Do we all agree with that? Do we all agree with that? I will simply tell it whenever I click on red, at that point of time, please make sure that you will remove a class name. You will remove. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Yes or no? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? If I click on red, remove the class name. So, and of course, for that, we have a very similar method as well. So I will simply go and tell it ele dot class list. And on this class list, please remove an class. What is that class? Please remove. Blue in this case, comma. Please remove what? Please remove. Let's suppose, what's the other one? Green. In a similar way, let me try to copy this method and I will simply go on the second function and I will simply tell it, please remove red and green. And I will simply tell it, please remove in this case, what? Blue and red. Will this work? Maybe, maybe not. Let's try to find out. So I will simply go here and let me click on red. When I click on red, it makes it red. When I click on blue, you can clearly see red is being removed. When I click on green, blue is being removed. So it will automatically make sure that only that particular class is being added while I am clicking. But also make sure that when I click on red, at that point of time, it's going to actually remove blue and green. So what is remove method? Write the definition. Remove method removes one or more classes from an element. But there's a question that you might ask. Sir, when I first time go to this web application, at that point of time, There's neither blue class, there's neither nor we have green class. And when I click on red, why is this error not actually throwing an why is this method actually not throwing an error? Because you simply need to understand this method simply means remove one or more classes from an element. And if the mentioned class does not exist, then the method does nothing. So when you click on it, if blue and green does not exist, in that particular case, it will do nothing, but it will add red. In similar way for fun one, for fun two. I hope this makes complete sense. You can clearly see when I click on red, red class is being added. But on the same time, when I click on blue, red is being removed with blue. Red is being replaced with blue. Am I completely clear? Yes or no? Do we all agree with this? Then shall I move forward? Shall I move forward? Perfect. Let's move forward. Now, there's a third method inside our class list. Now, that method is the badsha of all these methods that we have discussed in class list. And that is called toggle method. Okay, toggle method. And of course, you would have understood what toggle actually means. Let me try to make you understand. In this web application, I will simply go and create a button. Okay, and that button will have an ID, and that ID will be btn. Okay, although we don't need a button over there, let me have an on click, and I will simply go on click, and I will simply say theme changer. Usually in our interviews to freshers, there's one of the very famous questions that is being asked to freshers lately very often, especially in React. Not in JavaScript that way, but in React, this question is very favorite question to interviewers, which is implement dark mode, light mode. Okay. So I will simply go here and I will simply tell it change theme, which means I simply want when I click on this, make the background black. When I again click on it, make the background white or any two colors. But there should be the toggling behavior between two colors over there. That's what I actually want. So what am I going to do? I'm simply going to create two classes here. One is called dark. And whenever this dark class will be implemented in that particular case, I will make background color as black and color over there as white. Right? Done. On the other hand, I will simply go and implement one thing which is light. So dot my light light. And in this particular case, or let's not talk about dark. Let's keep it only one class, which is dark itself. Okay, that's it. Now what I will do is I will simply go and I will simply tell it read an element whose ID is, let's suppose, body. Okay. And I will go here, maybe at the top over here. Let me go from the top and I will simply tell it, please read an element. Okay. That element is going to be on my document. Please get an element by an ID, and that ID over there is body. So we all can agree that this variable over there holds this particular whole body. Do we all agree with that? Of course, yes. After that, I have defined a button, and that button simply has an on click event, and that is theme changer. So let me define this theme changer function. So function theme changer, like this, like this, like this. And in this case, I will simply tell it on my element, please find its class list. Now, you guys tell me in the chat quickly the portion that I have highlighted, only this much portion, what is it going to return? Whenever we talk about on an element, a property called as class list, what is it going to return? Quickly tell me in the chat. Quickly tell me. Element dot class list returns a token list, returns an array list over there that holds all the classes for that particular element. And on the same class list, array of classes, please toggle. Toggle means add and then remove. In one case, add, and in another case, remove. So now we can clearly see when I click on this, dark is being implemented. When I again click on it, dark is being removed. So when I click on it, dark, when I click again, so it's actually removing the dark. So what does toggle actually mean? Let's try to understand that what toggle actually over here means. So I will simply go and do one thing, console.log. my element dot, I will simply tell to print my class list in the output. And let me try to expand this browser here, and let me go to inspect and open console. See, at this point of time, we all know by default to my body that I have, there's no class that it contains. That's why array by default is 0. Now, when I click on this over here, we still can see it is DOM token list 0. Do you see one thing? And this is one of the very important points here. Even though I know class has been added, but do you see it is actually changing this particular class in the DOM token list? No. That's why we have to understand this token list is static in nature, which means even though if it is added, it won't reflect in the output. At least in you can clearly see the DOM token list. But if I talk about these elements, let me go here to this particular thing. You can clearly see when I click on this, class dark is added. On the same time, when I again click on it, it simply removes the class. So what does toggle method actually mean? Toggle method simply means one thing. Check. Whenever this method is called toggle, check. If dark is already available on the element specified element, then remove it. If dark is not already available, then add it. So it is if else. If dark available, add it, remove it. If not available, add it. That's what toggle means. And I think toggle behavior you see very often inside your web applications. You see this toggle behavior too much. At one case, it does this, and on another case, it reverses the same effect. So that is where our toggle behavior plays a very important role, and this is one of the very important methods inside our DOM. So we have seen three methods inside our class list. Number one is class list itself. Number one method on class list is add. Number two is remove. Number three is toggle. So I hope this makes complete sense. I hope we have completely understood what these methods are. Give me a quick confirmation in the chat before I move forward and start one another very important topic. Quick confirmation. Quickly. Am I clear? Perfect. Very good. So, see, until now, we can all agree to one point, which is that we have seen manipulations, we have seen dynamicalities, right? We have seen how to find an element, how to actually find a group of elements, query selector, query, how to find an attribute, how to set an attribute, how to find the relations between the elements. We have done all of that thing. But when we talk about one of the most important manipulations that DOM can do, that is creation, insertion, and removing elements in the DOM. By that, I mean removing the element, the tags itself, or the whole containers from the DOM. How do we do that? And that's what we are going to discuss after this break. So we will take a break of 10 minutes, but make sure that you do not leave the class. Today's number of students were very less. Only 30 students here, not more than that. In which I would say 25 for like very serious students. But also 30 is not acceptable, right? We have 116 students that are part of the batch. I have already shared the list as well, right? And unfortunately, I can only see 27 students here, 26 students here, which is definitely not acceptable. If Sunday time is not good for you, we can definitely, take this class out of our schedule, and we can make this class happen on some other day. But whatever the issues are, you let me know, right? But I want at least 50 students in the class, consistent, always, no matter what. And unfortunately, not good. So let's क्या कर सकते हैं? I cannot go to the students homes and जबरदस्ती तो नहीं कर सकते ना. So we cannot do anything related to that. But जितने भी students serious हैं, please be serious always. I will guarantee one thing, that you will get the best content no matter what. Okay, and see you guys after 10 minutes. Bye everyone, and make sure you stay in the class even in the break as well. Do not leave the class. Make sure that these 25 students remain here. Thank you guys. Bye everyone. See you exactly after 9:40. Bye. Hey guys, hi everyone, welcome back. I hope I'm audible as well as visible. Am I? I think I should be audible, right? Hello everyone. Hello guys. Hi everyone. Perfect. I guess we can start our class. Okay. So today's class in the first half session, I would say we have discussed something very important related to DOM. We have discussed lot of methods, right? And now it is finally time to discuss related to manipulations. I would say one of the last topics now because we have done enough. We have discussed enough concepts related to DOM. Yes, there are a lot of other discussions that we have to do related to DOM. That's why I said it will take one more week, and then I think it will should take more 2 weeks to complete JavaScript entirely. Okay, not more than that. So by next 2 or 3 weeks, we are going to complete our JavaScript entirely. And now let's discuss one of the most important topics related to JavaScript. And I can guarantee you one thing that there will be definitely one of the questions related to DOM, related to the topic that I'm about to start in the interviews. So if you want to crack an interview later on, please make sure that you understand the methods that I'm going to talk and teach you now. Okay. We have understood a lot of things, but we have not understood one of the most important thing here called as how do we create a new element and then insert it inside DOM, append it inside DOM and create new elements. And what are the different methods? I am pretty much sure even if you know it, there's only one or two methods that you are familiar with, not all of the methods. So let's all understand this very important topic called as creating, inserting, and removing elements from the DOM that we have. In many interactive web applications, websites, it is very much necessary and mandatory to dynamically create, insert, or remove elements from the DOM. And when I say elements, I mean elements, image element, H1 element, H2 element, video, audio, iframes, and XYZ things. And JavaScript provides us very several powerful methods to actually manipulate the DOM structure that we have. And let's understand it one by one, this what this is. So let me simply give it a name, which is DOM manipulations, whatever the spelling is, manipulations. Okay, done. Perfect. Now let's go here and let me simply start with a very simple method called as create element. The first method that I'm going to talk about is called the create element. This method is used to create a new HTML element dynamically, and then this newly created element, remember, it will not be displayed on the output unless and until you make it part of the DOM. This method simply creates an element on the document. That's it, not appends it. Appending can be done with multiple methods, but we have to append it later on. And let's try to understand a very simple example over here. I will simply go create and write, let me write script. Okay. And I will simply say here a button, and that button has an ID over there or leave ID aside. I will simply have an on click event, and that on click event will call a function. And let me define a function. And on this function, whenever I call, it simply should add an element in my output, maybe add a paragraph with some content. So whenever I click on this, I simply wanted to add a paragraph and add it and display it in the output. So let me try to display DOM7 in the output like this. Okay, let's do that. And this button simply says generate para or something like this. Done. So what do I need to do? I will simply define a method called as create element. So let me simply say let my new para is equals to on my document, please create an element, and that element actually is whatever the name of the element. So if it would have been h1, I would have written h1 there. If it would have been div, I would have written div there. Similarly, whatever the name of the element is, I will pass that name over here as an argument. So it has created an element on a document and store it inside a variable called as new para. Let's try to find console.log what new para is going to be in the output. Let's try to visualize it, how it looks in the output. So let me go inside the inspect and let's go inside the console and let me click on this. We can clearly understand that as soon as I do that, it actually gave me a tag. So what is this method actually doing here? This method will simply allow you to create an element. That's it. Create an element, nothing else. Now, what you can do is you can simply go tell it, hey, the new para that I actually created, for this, please make its inner HTML. For this, make its inner text or text content, whatever you want. We have understood the difference in our previous class. Please make it. I will simply say, this is a new para. Okay. Now, when I click on generate para, we can still clearly see that we are able to create our p tag. But why is this p tag not being displayed in the output when I click on this? Because, as I said, this create element simply creates an element. And then this, I'm simply telling it on that element, please add a property which is text content. Update that text content property and make this text, which is this is new para. But what is it that we need? We somehow want to display it in the output. Maybe we somehow want to make sure that as soon as I click on generate para, it should be displayed in the web page. Now, when we say displayed in the web page, what does that mean? That means go over there, target my body, put it in body. That's one thing. Or go there, there's already a div whose ID is container, put it there. Or go there, there's a main tag whose ID is this, put it there. Which means in order to add it anywhere, I have to tell it where it needs to be added. I have to tell it which node part you have to target and then make this child of that particular node parent. So for that, I will simply create a div whose ID is going to be container like this. And inside this div, I will simply tell it to actually add this p tag. So let me simply go let my ele is equals to on my document. Please get an element by ID, and that particular ID is my container. Why is it not displaying p? Because console.log p, because there's some logic over there that you need to understand, which is this particular I think your question is add, since we are writing line number 17 console.log new para, and then on line number 18 we are writing this is a new para. So why is it printing element over there? Because it executes JavaScript wholly in this case, right? Script, it's not like it will be displayed first and then later on execute. JavaScript will be executed. There's one keyword or two keywords that we will later on discuss called as async and defer. Async and defer, how they will affect the execution of JavaScript, all those things we will understand that later on as well, right? And I think it should be completely clear like why this is displaying the text over there, because it executes it as whole, right? It will not wait for it like it will execute this then this, although it does that as well. It's an interpreted language. I have a question here, although should I ask that? Okay, let me ask you this. Does JavaScript engine have compilers? Since it's an interpreted language, does JavaScript engine has compilers? Answer me that. ठीक है ना? बाद में अभी नहीं. Do one thing, put the answer properly, do a research and put it in the what is this called our WhatsApp group. Okay, put the answer there. Yes, they have, but do a little bit research. It depends on the engine. Remember that. It depends on the engine. It depends on the engine. So there can be a compiler as well. So do a little bit research over there and then answer me this in the WhatsApp group. How you answered our previous question. Now leave that aside as of now. Okay. So what do I want to do is I simply have a div here. Okay. And now I simply want that whenever I click on this function inside this div, please make it a part of it. So for that, I will simply tell it the ELE data. Inside that, please append a child. And what is that child? That's new para. Simply. And what is this ELE? ELE is this container. So unless and until you do not make that particular element part of any particular container or any particular node, it will not be displayed. That is why now when I click on this, it is available there. So whenever I click on this, we can clearly see I am able to generate every single time a new para over there. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Am I clear? Am I clear? So you must append a child there. Unless and until you do not target a particular element and you do not make it a part of that, it will not be displayed. And it's quite obvious as well, because this particular code simply creates an element. That's it. I have not told it where you want to add it. So you have to give it a location in my DOM tree where exactly it has to be added. And that's what I have done over here. So append child is a method with the help of which you can simply target a parent, and inside the parent you can make it a particular child. But my question to all of you, since I am pretty much sure that there are few students who have done DOM before as well, who have done JavaScript before as well, is there only one way of adding our element inside my web application, which is append child? Do we have only this way with the help of which we can add this method inside our document? The answer is of course not. So if the answer is no, there are other ways. What is the other way? What can be the other way? Do we know any other method over there? There are some other ways. Of course, yes. But the point is, what is it exactly that's our requirement? Let me create a new scenario here. Okay, let me try to, what should I do? Let me create a new file. Okay, let me create a new scenario because I think that scenario will be properly fit. Huh? So I will simply go create a dom8.html and let's try to understand the whole thing from the very beginning. But this time I'm not going to use append child. No, append child, we understood what append child is. Whenever our requirement is we want an element to be targeted, and inside that element we want it to be added as a child, we can simply implement append child. The requirement is quite clear. But let's suppose we want to change our requirement. Let's suppose we have ordered list or unordered list. Let me create unordered list over there with an id that's called a list. Done. Inside this, I simply have list item, and let me simply go item 1. Then Control C, Control V, Control V, and let me simply go say item 2, and let me simply go say item 3. And then finally over there, I will simply give it an ID, and that ID is going to be, let's suppose, item 4. Okay, and let me even give this particular content as item 4 as well. So if you look at this particular output, according to the output, do you think we are missing something? Do you think we are missing something? Of course we are. We are missing our item 3. We are missing our item 3. Now I want to insert our item 3, but not directly. I can of course do that because that's very easy. I can write list item 3. I can do that. But what I want actually to do is I simply want to insert an item 3 or item 5, which means before this and after this, which means our requirement this time has a little bit different. It's not change. It's not change. It's little bit different. It's not I want to add an element inside a parent, no, but I want to add an element before any specified element or add any element after any specified element. So for that, what should I do? There's a method. So I will simply go write a script method. In this script method, let me try to read an element within get element by ID called as list. Done. After this, I will simply try to read an element which is item 4, but let me do that later on. What I want to do is I have to create an element. And in order to create an element, what is the method that we actually use? We use create element, right? So I will simply tell let my li is equals to what? Is equals to on my document, please create an element. And inside that create an element over there, what am I going to do? I'm simply going to go over there and put an attribute argument called as li, because that's the method that I have to add. Done. After that, I have to make its content, which is li dot text content is equals to item 3. Simple as that. But the point that I'm trying to actually make you understand now is the requirement is a little bit different. Requirement is not, hey, go there and add this element inside a list. No, that's not the requirement. The requirement actually is that I simply want an item to be inserted. How can I add the item over there? That's something that we need to understand. Or and inside which parent? That's also very important. When we talk about, there's a method that's called as insert before, not add element before, but insert before, one of the methods. What does this method actually do? Insert before method inserts a new element before a specified element of a parent, which means it's not like I have to only remember, I have to only require one element, which is the element before which we have to add. No, but I also need a parent of it. Like in which parent? Add this element before this particular child. In that particular case, we use a method called as insert before. So let me go here and let me simply read my item 3 over there. Sorry, item 4. And in this case, I will simply go tell it, on my document, on my document, please get an element by id, and that id actually is item 4. Done. And after this I will simply tell it, on my list, please insert before, insert before. Now insert before over there, now it receives two arguments. Always remember this, always remember it receives two arguments. Number one is the new item that you want to be inserted. Number two is before which. So what is the new item that we want to insert? Li. Before which? Before our item 4. Do we all agree with that? So Li before item 4 inside my list, and you can clearly see item 3 here. Do we all understand this particular method, guys? Yes or no? Do we all understand this particular method? One of the very important methods called as insert before. So insert before method, we have to give two things to it. Number one is in which parent. So this is the parent that you want to target, okay? But and then inside this it receives two arguments: new element, comma, before which. Do we have insert after? Let's try to find out. I don't remember, but let's try to find out. So I will simply go, I will simply say insert after. No, we don't have insert after. We have insert before only, we don't have insert after. That's why I don't remember it, because we don't have such method. Okay. I hope this makes complete sense. So we have understood two ways over there to actually append an element. Number one is insert before, number two is append child, and there might be some other methods which you can explore on your own definitely as well. Moving forward to our third method, fourth method that we have to understand, which is now insertion is done, creation is done, insertion is done. Now there's one another thing that we have to understand, which is called removing a child. How do we remove a child from a particular parent? We have a method called as remove child. So remove child method removes a specified child from its parent node. And what is the syntax? Simply parent node dot remove child, mention the node child element that you want to remove. Let's see an example. I simply will have a button over there, and that button simply says remove child. Okay, remove child. Done. And on this button I will simply go have an on click, on click. And on this on click, I will simply call a function like this. And let me define a function here. So fun function like this, define a function quickly, function fun. And let me go here and let me try to define some logic. Now I will simply tell it inside my list over there, please remove a child. Now which child you want to remove? Pass that the element. Pass the element to it. So what is the child that I want to remove? In my list, if you look at it, it's a parent. And then item 4 is this particular child. So if I click on this, you can clearly see it has removed item 4. It has removed item 4. But now if I again click on it, do we see it getting removed? No. Can we pass indexes of this? There is a method where we can pass even indexes as well. Do a little bit research. I don't remember exactly the method, but there is a method with the help of which even we can pass indexes as well. Let me try to see if we can pass 0th child here. I'm just testing it out. Let's see. No, it does not work. But there's one method. Even let me try to find out that on my own. Remove child, it's a very simple, straightforward. Remove child. No, there's only one method, which is remove child. There's a method I will share that in our WhatsApp group, with help of which we can actually remove a child based on its number, like first child, second child, third child, fourth child. And even there are methods that will check whether this child exists or not. I don't remember those methods right now, but I'm definitely going to share those in our WhatsApp group. So remove child, which one? Please remove the item 4. And now whatever children I will pass here, whatever child node I will pass here, inside this parent, it's actually going to remove that. I hope this makes complete sense. Remove child is also clear. Done. And as I said, there are more ways to remove a child from a parent. I don't remember exactly the method right now, or I can tell you this. What if I will simply allow me a second? Let me try to figure it out. No, it does not work like that. But there's a method which is if list dot has child nodes, something like this. Until then, please remove the last child. This is one of the very important things. See, very important manipulation that I have implemented here. If list have child nodes, what does that mean? That means until list has child nodes, item 1, item 2, item 3, item 4. Then until then, please remove Which one? Last child. So let's keep remove item, remove child, item 4 is removed. So if I click on item 3, if I click on this item 2, if I click on this item 1, do you understand what's happening over here? So as I said, there is a way of removing all the childs one by one, and this is the way. And has child in nodes is one of the very important methods. What does has child in nodes do? It will check, it will return boolean true or false. So until it has child in nodes, until then, please keep removing the last child whenever you call this function. Do we have first child as well? So we can have first child as well. So let me try refresh my page. You can clearly see first child is removed, right? We can clearly see our second child is removed. We can clearly see our third, fourth, and similarly. So this is one of the ways of removing child is, but checking based on a condition. If it has child in nodes, then remove it. I hope this is also clear that we can also actually remove an element over there. We can also remove all of the elements based on a condition as well, where we have seen one another method called as has child nodes, which means it will check until this particular list has child nodes. Until then, please keep doing this. Please keep doing this. You can implement same thing via a loop as well, but that will be something different, right? I hope that makes sense. So can we create unique ID for each child, pass with the ID in it? Of course we can do that. How, whatever way you whatever method or way you get in your mind, implement and see whether it will get implemented or not. Practice as much as you can. See, there's only one thing that you need out of this course, which is job, right? That's it. And in order to get a job, you have to do one thing, which is you have to practice as much as you can. I know I teach a little bit good, not that much good, but I know I teach a little bit good. I give good content. That's what I know. But on the other hand, it does not matter how good I teach. It does not matter how well I give you the content. Eventually, you guys have to make sure that after 2 days, after 3 days, you do not forget it. And for that, you have to do practice as much as you can. There's only one thing that matters to you, which is how to get a job out of it and how to earn good money. And in this world, everything revolves around money. You do not have money, you do not have anything. So if you want to earn good money, it is you who have to do the hard work. It's you who have to practice every day. It's you who have to create projects. I am just a source that's going to help you with something. I will give you 10, 20%. Rest of the 80% of finding a job and getting a good placement is up to you. So please make sure that you practice it. Whatever comes into your mind, implement it. If it does not work, take help from the internet and see how actually it might it might be resolved, whatever you are not able to implement. But eventually practice, take notes, and every day have a discipline and practice every day at least 2 to 3 hours until you get a very good job. And then of course you are you get that particular habit of learning from the company, which you can get later on. But at this point of time, there's only one thing moving forward, which is creating projects, which is practicing. That's it, nothing else. I will share you some stories of mine, but maybe in another class. At this point of time, let's focus on one last thing. Okay. Now we have seen remove child, we have seen highest child nodes. Please share the link of that project to my WhatsApp Govind. I will definitely take a look and share you the feedback. Okay. This one another method. We can see we have item 1, we have item 2, we have item 3, we have item 4. Okay. There's a method called as replace child. We have seen how to create a child, we have seen how to insert before, we have seen how to remove a child, but there's also a method called as replace child. If you want to simply replace an existing child node with a new one, the method that we have is replace child. And what is the syntax? On the parent node dot replace child, pass two arguments, new element and old element. Let's try to find out. So I will simply go here and I will simply create. Let's suppose I have a paragraph. Although let me do one thing. Let me try to make it a little bit clean. Okay. Although let's keep it like this. Let me simply go create an ID. So ID over here is going to be item 1. Okay. I want to replace this particular element with a new one. Instead of item 1, I simply have a button over there, and whenever I click on that button, it is going to call a function, and that function is going to be fun1, like this, like this. Okay. But what is this function supposed to do? This function is simply supposed to replace this item 1 with a different node. Now that node is not necessarily it's going to be li, That node can be anything. It can be p tag, it can be b tag, it can be h1 tag, it can be anything, but I want to replace this node. That's what my agenda is. So let me simply go here. Let me try to bring it down so that I will have very simple thing here. So let me define a function with fun1 like this, like this, like this. Okay. In this case, I will first of all read the parent node, because replace child will be implemented on the parent node, or everything that we have discussed will be implemented on the parent node. Okay. After that, what is the node that we want it to be replaced with? So let me create that. So let me simply say h1, okay, is equals to, on my document, please create an element, and that element actually is what? That element is my h1 tag. Okay, so let me go create h1 tag. Done. For this h1, I will simply implement its text content, and let me try to make it variable verse. Please make sure that if you have not liked it already or subscribed it, please make sure that you subscribe this channel and like this video right now. Okay, variable verse. Now, I don't want to append this. This is not what I want. I want this h1 tag to replace my list element item1, which means this time I don't want to write parent dot append child. No, I don't want to write parent dot insert before. No, I simply want to tell it, go to this parent, read this list item, replace this list item with this h1. So I have to read this list item. So let me simply go. I will simply say item1. So item1 over there is equals to, on my document, please get an element by an id, and that id is item1. Then what is the method which I am talking about? The method that we actually have is replace child. Replace child. Very simple method, very easy method. So I will simply tell it, on my parent. And what's the parent? List item. Please replace. Replace what? Replace my child. And then over here, it will receive two arguments. Number one is the new element that you actually want it to be replaced with, which is h1. New element. Second argument is the old, which is item1, sorry. Now if I click on this, you can clearly see it has replaced the entire node with the variable verse. It has entirely replaced with my node, which is item1, with a new node over there, that is h1. That's why I asked you a question 5 minutes back, which is, we do not have just one way of inserting a node inside DOM. There can be a lot of ways. Even I myself don't know, all of them. I know only 4, 5 of them, 7 of them. That's it. 4, 5 of them, not more than that. But there has to be other ways of inserting our elements inside DOM. And somehow we are programmed to remember only one way, which is append child. But that's only when we want it to be as append as a child. But sometimes our requirement might be we want to replace the existing node with new one. In that case, this is the answer. Replace child. There's one another method that we actually come across, which is called replace children. Okay, so let me write replace children. Although, let's try to find out the difference. Okay, and it receives an argument over here. Let's try to see. So if I try to hover on it, it does not give me, but it asks me to put nodes. Let me put same node. So h1 comma item. What is this? Item1. Okay, and let me try to comment this code here. Not like this, but let me put slash, and let's see if it does the same thing. Although I do not remember exactly what replace children right now does, but let's see the what is this called, what it does. So when I actually click on this, you can clearly see something happened. Something different happened, right? Something different happened. What happened? It has actually always, of course, it is better. Google search is always better if we forget something. Even use ChatGPT. People say don't use ChatGPT. I will say use ChatGPT unless and until you understand the concepts, unless and until you understand what it is giving you. Okay, so you can use anything. See, there's something different happening over there. I am telling it, replace children. H1, this is what the new element is, and item1. And what it is doing is, it is actually replacing item 2, item 3, item 4 with what? Let's see. There can be some other definitions of it. Let me do one thing. If I understand the proper definition over here, let me remove item 1. That will give you the complete understanding of it. Let me remove item 1. Let me tell you why item 1 has to be removed. So let me click on this. You can clearly see what replace children does. I will tell you what. Replace children means replace the whole children. Replace entirely the inner HTML of that parent. That's what replace children does. So when I put h1 only, it has replaced the whole children under this ul, which means item 1, item 2, then item 3, then item 4 with this variable verse. Now when I put h1 comma item 1, what does that mean? Replace the whole children with h1 and item 1. That's why you see variable verse first and then item 1 first. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Give me a quick confirmation in the chat. Give me a quick confirmation in the chat. Done? Very good. Now, one thing, Prathimesh, first of all, thank you so much. Thank you so much. For that feedback. And I always appreciate honest feedbacks, positive feedbacks, negative feedbacks, doesn't matter, but honest feedback always. Now, Prathimesh is asked one question. What is the difference between first child and first element child? If you ask me, I don't remember. But I know one thing, my concepts are clear. I will simply console them and I will see what the difference is. Always remember in your JavaScript, console is something that is going to be a very powerful tool for all of you. So let me simply go and let me simply use what? What am I going to use? Console.log. Over there, I will simply tell it to please give me list.firstChild. Now, when I do console.list.firstChild over there, it says reading first child is undefined. So let me try to go over at console X, although it should have worked there as well. But let me give it here. Yes, there's a text, hash text. Let's try to open it. So what is this? What is this? What is this? What is this? First child list mein is text node. First child is this. What is it? Node name is this. Owner parent element is UL list. Parent node is this. I don't want that. And if I talk about, allow me a second, let's try to figure out what is the another one, first element child. So let me go first element child. So if I talk about first element child, then it gives me list. Okay. So when we say first element child, in that particular case, it gives me the child itself, the whole list tag, first element child. But if I talk about first child over there, in that particular case, it does not give me actually list item, but it actually gives me the item one of that, the text of that. That's what I can understand from this. So first element child actually gives me the element itself, and first child, I might be wrong here, but actually it gives me this text over there. That is item one. That's why it actually removed this particular list item. Let me try to do a little bit research around it, and I will give you the better answer later on, Prathimesh. Because if I conclude with it, I think that might be wrong. I might be correct, I might be wrong here, okay? But sir, H1 is a big text. Of course, H1. That's irrelevant here, Govind, right? That's irrelevant. Whether you create H1, whether you create anything, it was not about H1. It was not about list items. It was about these methods. So whatever you do, it's completely up to you. I hope that makes complete sense. Am I clear? Am I clear, guys? Yes or no? Am I clear? Done? Perfect. Now let's do a quick conclusion of today's class, and then we will wind up our today's session. Everyone, let's start from the very beginning. We had a very wonderful discussion, I would say. Why? Because we discussed a lot of methods that I'm pretty much sure you might never discuss in your life. And there are a lot of methods that we discussed, lot of methods, at least 20 methods, I would say. First method that we actually started was with dom4.html, in which we understood how we can reach to an element with a relationship. And when we say relationship, we mean how we can find an element's parent node, its next sibling node, its previous sibling node. We have seen those methods. And from a parent perspective, how we can find its child nodes, how we can find its children's over there. So this was first discussion that we did around in our first 15 to 20 minutes, that how we can find an element with respect to a relationship. Done. Second discussion that we actually did was around attributes. How we can find an attribute over there, how we can set an attribute, how we can make sure that whether there exists an attribute or not, and how we can remove an attribute. And for that, we implemented these methods. Done. Followed by that, we actually implemented our class list approach. So class list says for an element you can actually deal with its classes, and it returns a token list, a static token list. Remember, a static token list. That is the point. Where you can add a class, remove a class, or toggle a class. That's also what we understood. Followed by that, we actually understood in our DOM how we can create an element with a create element, how we can insert an element with append child, with insert before, right? And with our what was the another one, with our replace child as well. So these were methods how we can insert. And then we also understood how to remove a child. So we can remove a child properly over here on our list using proper DOM methods. But now, since I can understand from yesterday and until today, we have discussed at least 20 methods. Do we remember them? I do not remember them. Like, I had to prepare for this class. I knew what the methods were. Even right now, if you ask me some of the methods, I don't remember exactly what those methods are. But let me tell you one thing. It's not about remembering the methods. Never ever. It's actually about, let me tell you what developing is about. Okay. Developing is about that you are given a problem. Okay, let's suppose you are given a problem that there is a node. To this node, please tell me what its next sibling is. What it is next sibling is. Try to understand my conclusion here. This is one of the very important things. It's not about remembering the methods. You don't have to remember them. Never ever. I will definitely suggest you to take notes. Write all of these methods on your rough copy or on your copy that you're. I think if anyone is making proper notes, please share that in your WhatsApp group. Please do that. Let others take advantage of that. Please do that. Now, what are we supposed to do? Whenever you receive a problem, any problem doesn't matter. The idea is you should get something in your mind. Okay, I can solve this problem, and there is a method that will do this. It's about that. And then you can do a Google research. You can do a chat GPT research, whatever you have. It's not about remembering the method. It's about understanding that whether when I receive a problem, I know that there is some method that's going to do this. If you are able to at least visualize that, remember that there is some method that's going to do this, you are done. Of course, you won't remember. I don't remember all of these methods. But whenever I have to work, I do a problem, I know that there is supposed to be a method that's going to do this, and I will call that method. Instead of wondering, instead of thinking about what that is, instead of doing a Google research, hey, I have to do this, tell me what this method is. No. It depends on the interviewer. Like for experienced people, I think for me, I have recently given an interview and I was allowed Google over there. But of course, if we talk about freshers and all that stuff, these methods will not be asked in the interview. No. There will be very minimum methods like style. How can we implement dark mode, light mode? How can we do that? These type of methods are not implemented. Like implement next sibling, previous sibling. No, that's not what is being asked. Always remember, in interviews, such questions are asked that are very famous. Like for famous, I mean create an element is very famous. Append child is very famous. Replace children is very famous. Replace child is very famous. So these are few methods that are very famous. No one is. I don't think no one is ever going to ask you what is this. This not class list. The other one. What was the other one? This one. Hey, please tell me last element child, first element child, next sibling. These methods are not asked in the interviews. But attributes are asked, children are asked, how to create an element, they are definitely asked. So practice and trust me, as soon as you start practicing and you practice enough, you will automatically by default remember all of these methods. Definitely for sure, 100% Nasir. 100% there will be a complete placement assistance, not only that, complete mock interview assistance as well, but only to those students who join classes continuously, who complete the assignments continuously. That's the only thing. Apart from that, everything will be given free to you. Everything, but making sure that you give your best, you give your dedication, you work very much hard. And if I bring up some opportunity for all of you, somehow that opportunity has to be redeemed, right? That means you have to work very much hard. that is definitely okay. Like if you have complete dedication, if you are ready to do the hard work, switching, a lot of people switch, and they do find better jobs after switching as well. But it might be a little bit difficult for some time, but yes, you can definitely do it. I will of course do that as well. So let me send the attendance link for today's class. Okay, give me a second, and make sure you submit the attendance. Okay. Yes, Adil, these methods are available everywhere. You can access these methods in MD, and you can access these methods wherever you want. Even I will try to share some documentation of it. Okay, but definitely we will get the documentation everywhere. So please make sure that you submit the addends, right? And I think we are good with our today's class. Please make sure that that is 17 October. I will also create one other assignment today or tomorrow. Please make sure, guys, that you submit the assignments properly, and also please and please share this. See, I need subscribers now, okay? And I think we have already given a lot of content. So this is our 21st video, right? It means almost 50 hours of classes. Ha. Definitely. If you are giving any interviews, you can share your experience in the WhatsApp group. We already have our doubt session WhatsApp group. The only thing is it has to be related to MERN. And after that, you can share anything, any resource, any video. Even if you think that some of the topic I have not taught well, and you find a very better resource of that particular topic, even share that as well. It's not about uh, me, it's about you. It's about finding a better placement out of this. That's it. However we achieve that, let's work as a family and let's work together. Whatever you think, whatever you want to share, you can share, but it has to be related to whatever work, updates related to JavaScript, React, or MERN, anything, whatever. Unfortunately, not right now, Anil, but I'm trying to create some notes. And I was saying that, see, as I said, mock interview assistance, placement assistance, this teaching right now is completely free. But is it completely free? Of course not. I need something return, which is your support to make this batch a successful batch. And somehow, honestly speaking, I don't think you are giving me that support. There are few, 2 to 3 or 4 people who are giving me that support. So please help me grow this channel. Please help me share this entire course on LinkedIn, on Instagram, or wherever you can, with different college groups. Please make sure that you subscribe if you have not liked this video. Put comments once this class is done, right? And I'm giving you my best. I hope we can do that. Can we take class from 6 to 7 p.m.? It depends on the day, right? Not today. No, no, no. Not today. Today is Sunday. I'm supposed to take a holiday, but no, I don't do that. Not today. We will see what we can do. Okay. Thank you so much, guys. Bye, everyone. And please share your feedback in the comment section for today's class. If you have really enjoyed this, please make sure you like it, you share this video, you make it a status of your WhatsApp, you share it with your LinkedIn family about this course, and let people know that we are doing something good here, so that people will know and people will give us opportunities after this course as well, right? So that's what our plan is. So let's work together as a family. Let's make sure that we share this, we subscribe, and we comment once this video is done, right? If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat. If not, appreciate your feedback and thank you so much. And also make sure that you submit the attendance. That is very mandatory, very much mandatory. Thank you so much, guys. You are Nasir. Text me on my WhatsApp. Let me know what assignment you need me to open. I will extend the deadline. You can attempt them, definitely. And even if you don't want to attempt previous assignments, it's completely okay. But make sure, since you have joined, after that you attempt all of the assignments. Okay. But if you want to attempt previous assignments, that will show me your more dedication. You can do that as well. Okay. Thank you so much, guys. Bye, everyone. See you in the next class very soon. Thank you so much. Have a great Sunday ahead. Please make sure that you practice continuously and you work very hard. Bye, guys. Thank you so much. Bye. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye. It depends, Sadi. Let me see if I found time on Wednesday, then Wednesday. If not, then Saturday, Sunday. Bye. Bye, everyone. Bye.